In addition to UFC 114, DREAM.14 takes place this weekend, emanating from the Saitama Super Arena in Japan, and it's headlined by one of the most exciting welterweights in the industry.
In the main event of DREAM.14, Strikeforce welterweight champion Nick Diaz will cross the ocean for a non-title bout against Hayato Maha Sakurai. Diaz went undefeated in 2008 and 2009 and has started off this year with a TKO victory already over Marius Zaromskis. Sakurai is coming off 2 consecutive losses, including one to Zaromskis.
One of mixed martial arts' most gifted and marketable fighters, Strikeforce welterweight champion Nick Diaz finds himself at a crossroads. Since losing to KJ Noons in 2007,
it's over. The fight has been stopped. Dr. Robert Williams has deemed Nick Diaz unable to continue. Nick Diaz not happy with the decision. KJ Noons is your new Elite XC 160-pound world champion.
The Stockton native has impressed with 6 straight stoppage victories, and many pundits rank the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu black belt in the top 10 in the 170-pound division.
He's got the choke, got him back, he tapped him out, just like that. Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
Over the course of his career, Diaz has improved exponentially in every single area of the sport, specifically the stand-up portion, where he decimates his opponents with a volume of strikes that would make Manny Pacquiao blush.
Man, a slugfest early on here. Unbelievable boxing skills here by Diaz.
Zaromskis' legs are gone. They're absolutely wide.
Down goes Zaromskis. Diaz is the Strikeforce welterweight champion.
With very few welterweight challengers in the Strikeforce organization, Diaz has been forced to fight outside his own promotion and offer his services to Strikeforce Japanese partner, DREAM.
Completely different sport as far as I'm concerned. You know, it's in a ring and much more closer to real fighting as far as I'm concerned. You know, it kind of favors the more technical fighter and brings out the more technical aspect in the sport. You can't really stall. They'll take your money. You have to fight.
Standing in the submission wiz's way is Japanese fight legend Hayato Maha Sakurai. Sakurai is considered to be one of the greatest MMA fighters to come from the island of Japan.
Sakurai raining down some serious ground and pound on Ryo Chonin.
The Pancratian fighter has taken out the likes of Frank Trigg, Shinya Aoki, Jens Pulver, and Joachim Hansen, making him one of the fighters with the highest profile to face Diaz. But with more than 45 matches under his belt, including 10 losses, Maha could be entering the twilight of his career.
John, as we switch gears over to DREAM.14, Strikeforce welterweight champion Nick Diaz will be in a non-title bout this weekend against Hayato Maha Sakurai. Nick Diaz continues to be, to me, one of the most underrated pound-for-pound fighters, and I think that somewhat has to do with him not being in the UFC. But this is a guy that over the last 2 years has really gone to another level at 170.
Well, finally we're starting to see the recognition for Nick Diaz. You go and look at a lot of people's top welterweight lists, and Nick Diaz is finally on that list. It's because of his relentless style, his world-class conditioning, and his ability to take out everybody that stands in his way. The asterisk beside that is most of those guys aren't the top guys, because most of those guys are in the UFC. The only other guy in the welterweight division that could challenge him is his teammate Jake Shields. That fight will never happen. So it's unfortunate that we don't see Nick Diaz face some of the top guys, but Maha Sakurai was one of those top guys, and maybe he'll be able to pull something out against Nick Diaz, but I highly doubt it. I think Nick Diaz is going to simply obliterate the Japanese legend.
How do you combat Diaz's stand-up game? Because no one has been able to find an answer for the relentless output that Diaz has been putting through.
A big, strong wrestler can put him on his back, and if you have the submission defense, you can stop his world-class submissions. That's the way to beat Nick Diaz. I don't know if you're ever going to knock the guy out, but you can work from the top position and try to grind out a decision.
Sakurai is one of the most decorated welterweights in the sport. He's fought a who's who. He's going to be adding Nick Diaz to that list, but will he be able to earn a victory?
Absolutely not. Nick Diaz coming into his own, and I think he's recognized as one of the best welterweights for a reason. I think he's going to absolutely destroy Sakurai.
In featherweight action this weekend at DREAM.14, 19-9-1 Joachim Hellboy Hansen takes on the 12-8-1 Hiroyuki Takaya. This fight will be Hansen's second fight at 145 pounds since coming down in weight following the second loss of his career to Shinya Aoki last fall.
But I mean, it's a close fight for sure.
There's a knee by Hansen!
Formerly a consensus top 10 lightweight, the Norwegian Joachim Hellboy Hansen has dropped down to featherweight, where he hopes to make an impact and eventually earn another crack at the 145-pound crown. A well-rounded fighting machine, Hansen excels at both the striking and submission aspects of mixed martial arts. After career triumphs over the likes of Takanori Gomi, JC Cavalcante, Kaluno, Mazukatsu Imanari, and Eve Edwards, Hansen emerged as a favorite to win the Dream Lightweight Grand Prix in 2008. In order to earn the coveted title, Hansen needed to avenge a prior career loss to Shinya Aoki in the finals. With the odds stacked against him as he battled the Japanese submission sensation on his home soil, Hansen knocked out Aoki emphatically in the opening round. After winning the Dream title, Hansen spent over a year on the sidelines nursing some nagging injuries. He returned against Aoki last November. This time, however, Hansen suffered a submission setback, which prompted the Scandinavian fighter to drop down to featherweight. Hansen was immediately granted a title shot against Bibiano Fernandes, but he lost a close split decision. Coming off successive losses, Hansen is eager to silence his doubters at DREAM.14. He will face entertaining Japanese brawler Hiroyuki Takaya, a veteran fighter with past stints in Shudo, K1 Heroes, and the WEC. No stranger to world-class competition, Takaya too is kept busy facing the best in the sport, having defeated Tatsuhioki, Antonio Carvalho, and Yoshiro Maeda. Takaya suffered the same fate as Hansen when he met Bibiano Fernandes in the Dream Featherweight Grand Prix final, losing by close split decision after 2 back-and-forth rounds. Both men are hell-bent on revenge against Fernandes. They will first cross paths this Saturday night in Saitama, Japan. The winner will move one step closer to a rematch against the champion, while the loser will fall further down the featherweight ladder.
John, an interesting featherweight bout here as we have Joachim Hellboy Hansen meeting Hiroyuki Takaya. Both guys are coming off of 2 losses, so a very important fight for both of them. For Hansen, he's moved down to 145 pounds. How did you feel he matured at the lower weight against Bibiano Fernandes?
I think it's great. I think if guys can go back and forth and fight in 2 weight divisions, I think it's good for the fighter and it's good for the fans. Hansen, you know, I expected a fight like that. Bibiano Fernandes is tough. He's a good stand-up guy. He's excellent wrestling skills, and he has world-class jiu-jitsu skills. Hansen obviously didn't do the things that he should have done, but again, one of the top fighters in the world. And when you look at all those guys in the Dream organization, they can all beat each other on any given day.
Hiroyuki Takaya, North American fans had a chance to sample when he competed in the WEC. Back in Japan now, I think this is going to be an explosive standout affair for both guys.
My hands are soaking wet because this will probably be the fight, or one of the fights of the weekend. Both guys are going to stand and trade. If the fight goes to the ground, they both have good submission skills and submission defense, but again, the fight will be contested on its feet. I think both guys are going to come out and throw down and entertain the fans in spectacular fashion.
Both guys have a loss to featherweight champion Bibiano Fernandes. Do you see the winner of this being next in line for a featherweight title shot, or is that still a fight or 2 away?
Again, I think it depends on their performance. If one of these guys comes out and knocks out the other one or submits one, and again, like I said, in spectacular fashion, sure, put him up against Bibiano Fernandes. But the Dream organization has so many of the top international fighters in featherweight. I think there's so many guys that could challenge Bibiano Fernandes.
You've got the tough job. Who's winning this fight?
I have no idea. Again, we'll go with Joachim Hansen because he has a win over Shinya Aoki, and if you have a win over Shinya Aoki, you're legit.
One traces the popularity of mixed martial arts within Japan, it is largely credited to the feud that evolved between Kazushi Sakuraba and the Gracie family, with the latest installment set for Dream.14. The 26-12-1 Sakuraba will meet 2-0 Halek Gracie, the son of Orion and nephew of Hoist. With only 2 professional fights and the most pressure-filled surname in the industry, Halek will be stepping into the biggest test of his young career.
One of MMA's great rivalries will be renewed on Saturday night as the Gracie hunter Kazushi Sakuraba faces yet another member of the legendary Gracie family. It all began at Pride 8 in November of 1999. Sakuraba, a former pro wrestler with an unheralded submission game, shocked the world by vanquishing former Abu Dhabi gold medalist Royler Gracie with a Kimura. With the victory, the Japanese superstar did what many thought was impossible. In an attempt to avenge the loss and restore credibility to the Gracie family name, UFC Hall of Famer and multi-time UFC tournament winner Royce Gracie agreed to fight Sakuraba on his own home soil, continuing a Japan versus Brazil rivalry dating back to when famous judoka Masahiko Kimura came over to Brazil and defeated the late Helio Gracie in a submission match in 1951. With nothing to lose, Sakuraba agreed to fight Royce Gracie on his own terms, with modified rules that allowed for unlimited rounds and no referee stoppages. After over 90 minutes of grueling competition, Gracie finally gave up and Sakuraba improved to 2-0 against the Gracies. And it didn't end there. Sakuraba went on to fight Renzo Gracie, who like Royler refused to tap out after getting caught in a kimura. As a result, Sakuraba snapped his elbow and the referee stopped the contest. By now it was official. Sakuraba was christened the Gracie Hunter. Sakuraba went on to defeat Ryan Gracie by unanimous decision at Pride 12, improving to 4-0 against the Gracies, and in the process becoming the biggest star in the land of the rising sun.
桜庭選手というのはですね、僕が会った格闘家の中でも誰よりもハートの、強い選手なんですが、
戦歴もあり経験もあり人気もあり素晴らしいなって普通に尊敬の目で見てますけど。
Now aged 40, the southpaw Sakuraba is no longer in his mixed martial arts prime, although his fighting spirit remains unbreakable.
目標っていうのは一番にはなりたいですけどね。そうですね。でもやっぱり一番になることだいぶ難しいことで、だから普段練習するんだと思います。
With a total of 40 professional fights under his belt, Sakuraba is vastly more experienced than his 24-year-old opponent Hiroyuki Gracie, Elio's grandson. A Brazilian jiu-jitsu ace with only 2 professional fights, Hiroyuki gets what could be the last opportunity for his family to avenge their past misfortunes against Sakuraba. Unbeaten in both of his pro MMA bouts, Gracie could be a future star in the sport. But if history is any indication, he will have to pull out the performance of a lifetime to finally set back the imperishable Japanese phenomenon known simply as the Gracie Hunter.
John, one of the most important feuds in mixed martial arts history continues this weekend as Hiroyuki Gracie will be taking on the Gracie Hunter Kazushi Sakuraba. This began all the way back in November of 1999. For those new to the sport, illustrate how important this feud was in terms of growing the sport, specifically in Japan.
Yeah, the Pride Fighting organization was actually on the verge of collapse until Sakuraba did what he did and beat the Gracies. And from there, it was a snowball effect. He kept winning against the Gracies, and in turn, he became a legend. And if you've never seen Sakuraba fight, you have to go watch his highlights. The guy is simply phenomenal. He's done things that affects mixed martial arts fighters today. Guys like George St. Pierre and really everybody in the industry recognizes Sakuraba and cites him as an inspiration. The guy is durable. He's fought his entire career for the majority out of his weight class, taking beatings from Vanderlei Silva and Ricardo Arona and Little Nogueira. And I think that Sakuraba, even though he's at the end of the career, still has something to offer because he's entertaining, and that's what it comes down to. It's all about entertainment. He's facing a guy that only has 2 professional fights, so it's still an interesting matchup. You can see Sakuraba in the twilight of his career taking on a Gracie who's making his mixed martial arts not debut, but very close to it.
Yeah, and you mentioned that the X factors are very important in this fight because, as you mentioned, Gracie only his 3rd professional fight, and as well, just the pressure of being the next Gracie in line for Sakuraba on a stage such as Dream. This is, I think, a ton of pressure on a very young Hiroyuki Gracie.
Yeah, the thing is, it's always a ton of pressure when you have the last name Gracie, so you have to make sure you're prepared, you go in there and fight your hardest, and hopefully big things will come. Or hopefully not, because Sakuraba's the man.
Are you going with Sakuraba or the younger Gracie?
I'm going to say Sakuraba continues his rule. Fingers crossed he goes out there and beats another Gracie.
Is this the last fight for Sakuraba?
Until they stop paying him, I think he'll continue to fight, and that's an unfortunate thing. But I don't want to take any money away from anybody, right?
Of course.
Featherweight bout, the 26-21-1 Hideo Tokoro competes for the first time in 2010 when he meets 10-5-1 Akio Nishihara, who is making his 2nd appearance for the Dream organization. Another featherweight battle, 8-7 Kazuyuki Miyata comes in with a 3-fight win streak to take on 10-4-1 Takafumi Otsuka. The deep veteran is making his Dream debut and is coming off of victories over Dakujonosuke Mishima and Takeshi Yamazaki. Competing this weekend at 145 will be 15-9-2 Kenji Osawa, who has primarily fought for Shudo, as well as having 4 fights in the WEC. He'll make his debut for Dream against 26-8-2 Yoshiro Maeda, who last fought at Dream 13 in a losing affair to Cole Escovedo. Weight bout, Ikuhisu Manoa, with a record of 45-30-8, will give up over 100 pounds when he meets the 1-2 Amani Lee, who has a kickboxing background. pivotal fight for one of Japan's most popular fighters, the 17-3 Norifumi Kid Yamamoto hopes to end a 2-fight losing streak when he moves down to 135 pounds this weekend and meets the 4-2 Federico Lopez. There was once a time when Norifumi Kid Yamamoto was on top of the world and considered a consensus top 10 pound-for-pound contender. Yamamoto defeated Royler Gracie, Kao Uno, and Genki Sudo in 2005 to win the K1 Heroes Grand Prix tournament.
Right-hand jump Sudo. Big right hand by Yamamoto, drives him off.
Yamamoto's other notable career victims included Hani Yaya, Jeff Curran, and current Dream featherweight champion Bibiano Fernandez. He was an unstoppable force at 145 pounds, rapidly gaining momentum and the admiration of Japanese fans. After several incidents involving the Yakuza gang growing up, Yamamoto was taken under the wing of MMA pioneer and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt Enson Inoue. Under Inoue's tutelage, Yamamoto seemed poised for greatness. But the son of former Olympian Ikue Yamamoto needed to make an important decision, whether to pursue his freestyle wrestling background and follow in the footsteps of his father by entering the Olympic Games, or whether to put all of his focus towards his true passion, mixed martial arts.
I raised the kid, I put clothes on his back, gave him a car, paid his rent, paid his electric bill, everything. The year was up. He already won the Shuto All Japan Amateur tournament, and his father calls me and wants him to start wrestling again. So I mentioned to the kid, and the kid tells me he doesn't want to wrestle because he loves fighting. And the reason why the father wanted him to come back was because there was going to be in the Olympics the next year, and kid was one of the top wrestlers in Japan. So the dad's dream was for a kid to go to the Olympics. So I told the dad, you know, if he's going to train for something as big as the Olympics, he's got to have his heart in it, because he's not going to be able to push hard enough. He's not hard enough in it. So I told him, if his heart's not in it, I'm not going to force him to quit. So the dad is pissed off, calls kid and tells kid, you're on your own. I don't want nothing to do. He disowns him.
With Yamamoto already accomplishing great things competing for the Shudo organization, Inoue used his contacts and status within the mixed martial arts community to get Yamamoto a contract with one of the world's most prominent combat sports promoters, FEG, the parent company of both Dream and K1.
I got him the K1 contract, 2-year contract, which K1 usually doesn't do usually. Got him a K1 contract. He's the only fight ever in K1 to have special rules. Half mixed martial arts, half K1s, because the power that I had on K1 with the negotiations that we made, we made it happen, so we made him a star. 8 months into the contract, he wants to fight Masato. I do not agree with that because it was too early for him. Well, he goes ahead and talks to his dad. His dad decides they want to fight, which the dad comes back into the scene as soon as he becomes famous. So the virus here is the dad. You know, kid is the, if we put into computer words, kid's the shitty computer that has no virus protection. The dad's the virus. The virus comes, infects the computer, and the computer is so shitty or stupid that it gets infected by the virus. When he walked into K1 ring, when I told him that I got a contract from him in K1, he almost cried, saying, I can fight in K1? And I said, yeah. He was fighting for $2,000, $3,000 in Shuto. I got him $50,000 a fight, you know? And then it's like, he's telling me 8 months later that he forgets where he came from, he forgets what he felt, and he wants to go and breach the contract.
Inoue severed ties with Yamamoto after he breached his contract with K1.
I refused to support him on that, and he decided, I told him, if you want to do that, I can't be with you. If you want to do it, go with your dad, and he decided to go with his dad.
Now anchored at Pure Breed Tokyo and the Crazy B team, Yamamoto is focused on success, with or without Inoue by his side.
The people with him now are the people that loves his money and his fame. And the day that he loses it, which is happening right now as we speak, the day he loses his fame and his aura as a superstar, he's going to be standing alone. There's no doubt in my mind.
After stopping Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu ace Hani Yaya at K1 Dynamite 2007, Yamamoto spent 2 years on the sidelines nursing a nagging knee injury. Despite being on the shelf for so long, Yamamoto never lost his reputation as one of the sport's elite fighters. He returned in May of 2009 to compete in the Dream Featherweight Grand Prix.
And up
absolutely massive ovation for the return of the one and only Kid Yamamoto.
However, Yamamoto suffered an upset loss to standout American wrestler Joe Warren in the quarterfinals. Went on to drop a unanimous decision to current Sengoku featherweight champion Masanori Kanehara at K1 Dynamite later that year. Once regarded as the best in the world, Yamamoto is now on a 2-fight losing streak. At DREAM.14, Yamamoto will finally fight at his natural weight of 135 pounds as he clashes with Team Quest product Federico Lopez, who is 4-2 in his mixed martial arts campaign. Yamamoto hopes to gain revenge for his loss to Lopez's training partner Joe Warren, and he will need to do so emphatically to reclaim some of the momentum that made him a champion 5 years ago.
John, it's an insane weekend for mixed martial arts fans with both events coming up. And looking at both cards, I am more stoked for the Dream card than UFC. What are you looking forward to?
Well, you're excited about the Dream card because Nick Diaz is one of the most exciting fighters in the world, hands down. I don't think anybody's going to argue that, and he always comes out and he always performs. But if you go and you look at the other card, the UFC card, one fight that people should look at is the fight between Cyril Diabate and Luis Kane. Both guys, stand-up guys, and that fight will either produce the fight of the night or the knockout of the night. I'm almost positive.
This weekend, hope you have the PVR ready. It's UFC 114 and DREAM.14, which will be taking place in Japan. We hope you enjoy all of the action coming up this weekend. For John Randine, I'm John Pollock. Thanks for watching.